News 5 with Jerry Springer, Norma Rashid, Pat Berry's weather. Steve Physiak has sports. Now, Cincinnati's News 5 tonight.
Giles into left center. There it is. Rose has eclipsed Cobb. That's number 4,192.
That was it, number 4,192, and now Pete Rose of Cincinnati, Ohio, is the all-time hit leader in all of baseball. Good evening. He worked and sweated for 23 years for this moment, and tonight in front of his family, his friends, and 50,000 unabashed Pete Rose fans, he did it. He became the man who broke the unbreakable record. 57 years to the day after Ty Cobb set the all-time hit record, Pete Rose got number 4,192, as he called it, the big knock. Pete basked in the adoration of his teammates and his fans, and deservedly so. Thousands of flashbulbs were going, each person recording a scene that will be hard to forget. The emotion of the moment was even too much for the usually stoic Rose. The applause would continue for minutes, and later a hug from the second generation of Pete Roses.
Boy, this is his game. It's his town, and it is.
Immediately after the game tonight, a winning effort by the Reds, I might add, a ceremony was held, one especially for Pete Rose. Reds owner Marge Schott presented him with a silver service with 24 cups, each one inscribed with one of the 24 records Pete holds in Major League Baseball. Then Pete was able to describe his own feelings.
I'm really not smart enough to come up with the words to show my appreciation for the fans. I was awful lonely when I was out there at first base, and I really couldn't tell you what was going through my mind or going through my stomach. I didn't know what to do. I really didn't know what to do, and they just made me feel so good.
Now, later during the ceremony, when asked if he'd play next year, he answered, "The way I feel tonight, I'd say yes." Norma, obviously a very happy man.
We hope he will play. All this attention will take him away from the people who've been with him all along, his family. They are as much relieved as proud tonight. Our Dave Robinson was with them for the historic hit.
As is custom, Pete's mom, sister, and brother arrived in their seats behind home plate about a half hour before game time. Idle small talk, hiding frayed nerves. Also custom, wife Carol and son Ty walked in a few minutes before the first pitch. A nervous smile for her, a toddler's wonder at what he can't yet understand for him.
The last several days have been very hard on the Rose family, and after last night's disappointment, had Pete not gotten a hit tonight, it would have been almost too much to bear.
Mom Rose predicted the hit would come on the first at bat. Carol preferred to hope.
I'm glad it's over. Now I can relax a little bit. I've been so on edge. So wonderful. Everybody's so happy.
And I looked up there and said, "Please, Dad, let him get it."
Are you glad it's over?
Please. Oh. Yes, I couldn't have took much more. I'm about to, he's crying, I'm crying, son's crying. Oh, God. This is the most wonderful thing ever happened.
I knew it was a base hit as soon as it left the bat, you know. I grabbed my mom. You know. It's tough.
And as the moment sank in, pride emerged.
He worked hard for it. He worked real hard.
Dave Robinson, News 5 tonight.
We've had a lot of calls the last few days from people who want to thank Marge Schott for bringing Pete Rose back to Cincinnati, giving this town a chance to show off and to share in his happiness. So here's the best thanks Marge could ever get. A ballpark full of fans having a great time and taking home some wonderful memories of the night they saw history.
We saw the greatest moment in sports history. You can't top it, you can't beat it. I could talk to my kids forever. I could never explain it.
Awesome. It was awesome.
I saw one of the greatest things I've ever seen in my life and probably ever will see.
And we at Channel 5 want to thank all of you. You made the last few days of watching and waiting so much fun. Well, nowhere is the fan reaction more intense right now than on the newly declared Pete Rose Way, better known as 2nd Street. Our Clyde Gray is there live. Clyde, what's it like out there?
Well, Norma, as you said, we are here perched high atop one of our news vans on 2nd Street, soon to be renamed Pete Rose Way. And as you take a look behind me at one of the local taverns, you can see that quite a crowd is building up. But I got to tell you, the odd thing about it is that with the exception of the crowds at the taverns, some of the people who have been attracted to different television lights and cameras around here, there's not much of a crowd out here tonight. It's hard to believe that it was just 3 hours ago that Pete Rose broke the batting records, made history, because the exuberance shown in the stadium, except for this knot of people here, one guy down here trying to sell me some tickets, except for these people, the crowd is pretty much subdued. It's estimated, I guess, that most people have to go to work tomorrow, and so they're heading home. Traffic's not that bad down here, but people are heading home, except for those going to the taverns out here. You know, there were a lot of people who were watching the game tonight. In Western Hills, for example, where Pete grew up, a number of his fans were anxiously waiting to celebrate, a celebration that had been put off after 2 nights of waiting. John London was with him when Pete went hitless last night, and again he was with him tonight when Pete got the hit that ended all of the waiting.
They were primed and ready for Pete's tiebreaker last night, so much so that they engaged in a little false advertising at the wagon wheel, then tried to make good on it by adding red coloring to the beer.
Rose beer!
And tonight, all primed and ready again. Waiting for the event became something of an event itself.
Here at the Blue Moon Saloon, it was standing room only last night. Tonight, not quite as packed, but when Pete got the big hit, boy, there was a lot of enthusiasm for him here. 2-1 is the hitter's pitch, and I saw it in his eyes and the confidence. 2-1, it was his pitch, and he got it.
I love it. I love it. I think it's great, and I'm going down to Phil Donahue tomorrow.
I think it was fabulous. I got goosebumps all over. I'm already hoarse. It was great. I loved it.
After all the hype and all the anticipation, the faces of Western Hills were smiling tonight. The moment was perfect.
Gives us all a reason to celebrate, even though it won't be a pennant. We gave us reason to celebrate, just like his hitting streak did a few years back.
They were primed and ready for one more cheer. John London, News 5 Tonight. Now let's go to Michael Collins at the stadium.
John, I want you to get a look at this crowd down here. They're still here, and they're still yelling, Pete, 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 Pete. Now, it's too bad that the entire city couldn't be here tonight, but the stadium held some 51,000 people. 51,000 people who are pretty much on their way home now with some 51,000 different stories on how the record was broken. This is mine.
I'll never forget September 11th, 1985. We were there when Pete Rose slammed his way into the record books forever.
Someday when you tell your kids about this, what are you going to tell them?
That I was here at this game and got my ticket for 50 cents. And I'll probably just hang on to the ticket and show it to them.
I couldn't decide if I should watch the TV or watch the real play, and I thought, I'll set the TV down, watch the real play, and there it went. And I could have cried. I could have cried.
Of course, there are others with different memories of the moment.
I was in the bathroom, and I heard a big crowd go up, and
so exciting.
I died. I said, oh, man, I came here for nothing.
Waiting on a frustrated customer.
What did he order?
A brat and a hot dog.
What did he say?
He said, hurry up.
But for me, the magic was seeing it up close in the middle of all the action. I could see the tension on his face. A trickle of sweat poured down his forehead. I noticed a slight twitch in his right eye. He nodded his head ever so slightly toward me as if he knew I was there, and then...
Well, all right, maybe I couldn't see all that from up here, but someday when I tell my kids about this, it has got to be in a legendary manner. I mean, I can't just tell them I saw a fly speck hit a golf ball. Michael Collins, News 5 Tonight.
Thanks, Mike. Now, thanks to that sharp single tonight, Cincinnati's 2nd Street will pass into history tomorrow. At a morning ceremony, 2nd Street will officially become Pete Rose Way. It's Mayor Charlie Lucan showing off the new signs.
Now we're not through with a special coverage of Pete's Day. Of course, still to come is the rest of the Reds game highlights from our own Steve Fiziak.
And we'll show you how those who weren't lucky enough to have a ticket to Riverfront found out about the record.
A crowd of more than 50,000 leaped to its feet as Pete Rose swung his bat. But if you weren't lucky enough to have a ticket for tonight's game, your only link with history was your radio or your television set. If you saw the game on Channel 5, it was Ken Wilson and Joe Morgan at the mic. Ken got the call.
2-1 pitch from Shaw into left center. There it is. Rose has eclipsed Cobb. That's number 4,192.
What did it feel like when you made the call?
You know, it felt just like I expected it would back in May and June and July when we thought about it. You have to anticipate, and I said exactly what I thought I would say.
If you had your radio tuned to WLW, you heard these two men, veteran announcers Marty Brenneman and Joe Nuxall. It was a toss-up as to who would get the call. Marty won the toss.
Shaw kicks and he fires. Rose swings.
There it is! There it is! Get out! Get out! All right!
Hit number 4192.
It's probably the single most exciting thing that I've ever broadcast. You know, it's the biggest record that's ever been set, in my estimation, in sport. And to be a part of it on a network as big as we have and to tell a lot of people about it, to me was a big responsibility. And I only thank God I didn't fumble over the words.
A Delhi businessman is especially happy over Pete's triumph tonight. Jim Hughes has exclusive rights to making this. It's a keychain with Pete's lucky number and the day he broke the hitting record. The problem was that Hughes was sure that the day would be yesterday. When that didn't turn out, he had to melt thousands of the keychains down again and start over. Hedging his bet that tonight would be the night, Hughes had the new chains printed. He's breathing a sigh of relief tonight. He'll sell his chains in area stores. Hughes expects to peddle more than 100,000 of the mementos. All 5,000 free tickets to see Pete Rose were quickly scratched up today. The tickets are good for tomorrow, and Pete will be teaming up with Phil Donahue instead of his teammates. The talk show host will be spending an hour with Pete Rose. If you were lucky enough to get tickets, you need to be at Riverfront Coliseum by 12:30. The doors close then. The show will air on Friday morning at 9 o'clock right here on Channel 5. And next, Dave Parker takes the stand in the cocaine trial in Pittsburgh.
And we'll show you pictures of the first satellite ever to go through a comet. Stay with us.
The owner, someone like that would rather hear it from me than someone that they really don't have the utmost respect for. And I don't really like to sit at home or sit in a dugout or the office and concern myself with things like that because it might never happen.
Do you think your approach to the game, your work ethic, the way your way of thinking might be more in line with the players Ty Cobb days than today's players?
You think your work ethic, the way you approach the game, is more in line with the Ty Cobb days than the players of today?
No. I think the only similarities that I have with the old-time ball players, you hear a lot of old-time ball players say that I remind them of themselves, and I think the only way that I remind the old-time ball players of themselves is one, I love the game, and two, I have fun playing the game. But there again, you have to realize baseball is a business today. But you don't ever hear me talk about the business part of baseball once I sign a contract. I'm a son of a buck when Mr. Katz and I are negotiating a contract. But once the contract is signed, sealed, delivered, go out and do your job. And I just approach the game the same way as the old timers. I have fun. I mean, baseball is a fun game. I mean, it's you can't go to a baseball game and worry about this and worry about, it's a fun sport. I mean, it's an outdoor sport, and it's a game that you're supposed to have fun and perspire and do your thing. And I think the old timers didn't worry about how much money they made, but they didn't have to. They didn't have to worry about it. But you have to worry about today. I mean, how many ball players do you know today? How many ball players do I know today that right now don't have doodly squat? They don't have anything. And because they weren't fortunate enough to be among the players who made big money. So, and you see a lot of those guys, you know, you have to have a little bit of business sense. If you don't have good people like I do have, and you have to have good people who handle your money and you know, worry about you when you're through as an active player, because you don't play forever. Nobody does. I just happen to play a lot longer than most people. And, you know, I happen to be, I played baseball, I told you yesterday, I played baseball for $7,000 a year, and I played baseball for $10,000 a game. I mean, so I've been on both sides of the bridge. So I've been, you know, real lucky. So, you know, I just think that I have a lot of fun and play the game like a kid.
Pete Rose talking about the game he loves, and we're going to be hearing a lot more from Pete in the next few days. Now let's go down to the ballpark where Steve Physiak is. Steve?
Thank you, Jerry. It is indeed an exciting time. Pete Rose talking to all the press inside of Riverfront Stadium, but all the lights are out here outside of Riverfront Stadium, and the city has quieted just a bit, but a memory will continually be etched in the minds of all of Cincinnati, and it's that base hit 4-1-9-2. It came in the first inning. The count was 2-1, and Pete Rose got a slider from the pitcher Eric Shaw. Ken Wilson was at the microphone for Channel 5 and all of the Reds television network, and let's go back and take a listen again.
Standing room only crowd in Cincinnati on its feet. First inning, Pete Rose against Eric Shaw. 2-1 pitch from Shaw into left center. There it is. Rose has eclipsed Cobb. That's number 4,192.
Well, I was all right there. I looked up in the air and went, you know, I was doing pretty good until I looked up in the air and I saw my father and Ty Cobb up there, and they took care of me.
I bet your dad won the argument.
He sure did.
Did it surprise you that he broke down?
No, it didn't surprise me because I know Pete, and I know he's more an emotional person and good-hearted person more than anybody thinks.
You know, it's too many years, you know, playing together, and no way I can miss this moment. This is a great moment. I'm never gonna forget this, and really, it's wonderful.
What was the feeling like when it finally hit?
I felt good because I thought he was going to handle it pretty good, you know, because he's pretty good for like the first 4 or 5 minutes, and then I think it just got to him. He just he broke up, and you know, he's hard-headed. He's a tough guy, but I think that just got him. He just couldn't. He was just overwhelmed.
Martinez had caught one last night that I thought was a hit, and this one was hit a little more to his left. And as the ball got closer to the ground, I started squatting, and I kind of raised my hand, you know, in rejoicement. I was glad to see it happen. I know Pete is glad to see it happen. I saw banners out there where one of the signs said, "Thanks Pete for doing it today. I didn't have tickets for tomorrow." So you know, it was just a phenomenal thing, and I thank the Lord that I was a part of it.
This will be probably the most memorable moment of my career, you know, because I grew up watching Pete Rose, and you know, he was one of my idols, and then finally getting to play with him, and finally watching him break Ty Cobb's record. I mean, it's just an incredible moment for me, and I'm just, you know, I'm so pleased. I really don't even know what to say.
A magic moment for all of Cincinnati, but making it even more magical was the fact that the Reds won the ball game. 2-0 the final score, and the final man who talked, Tom Browning, made it all happen with a shutout along with John Franco and Ted Power. Let's take a look at the highlights once again of the ball game. Pete Rose was fabulous. He had 2 hits, and we'll take a look at the 8th inning. This triple that made it a 2-0 ball game because Rose gets to third base on this triple. And there he is standing at third base with base hit number 4,193. Nick Osowski, who had 2 RBIs in the night, drove in all the Red runs with a sacrifice fly to center field, and Rose would score. And then Browning would get some great defensive help, like this catch by Bo Diaz into the Reds dugout, making a spectacular over-the-shoulder catch. And watch Eddie Milner in the 9th inning take extra bases away from everybody and to contain that shutout. Browning would end it with Ted Power, and who else would make the dazzling play at first base but Pete Rose? And he did it in such great fashion, diving to his right, making the play, and tossing to Ted Power, and the Reds would win the ball game, 2-0 the final score. Let's now take a look at the rest of the National League scores. Los Angeles, they keep on rolling, 12-3 over Atlanta. St. Louis, Cesar Cedeno with a 10th inning home run beats New York. Toronto over Detroit, the Jays with the sweep there. New York and Milwaukee are tied in the 8th at 3, and California and Kansas City, a 0-0 ball game in the 2nd inning of play. But history was made once again here at Riverfront Stadium tonight. Pete Rose with that base hit, 4,192. They're calling it the greatest hit of all time. This is Steve Physiak. Let's now go back to Norma, Rashid, and Jerry Springer.
Thanks, Steve.
We'll be right back with Jerry's commentary. Stay with us. your special coverage of Pete Rose's great hit. Well, you know, Pete Rose got a lot of congratulatory calls tonight, I'm sure, and a lot of handshakes and a lot of well wishes, but one of the most important he got was from the president.
Hello?
Hello.
Pete Rose?
Yes, sir.
Alias Charlie Hustle?
Yes, sir.
This is Ronald Reagan.
Thank you. Nice talking to you.
Well, listen, I just wanted to say congratulations for breaking one of the most enduring records in sports history, Ty Cobb's career hit record of 4,191, and now, unless you've done something since I've heard the latest, you've made it 4,193. Well, I've been rooting for you, and come to think of it, I used to also root for the fellow who once held that record.
Well, thank you very much for taking time out of your busy schedule to call us, and we really appreciate it. And you missed a good ball game tonight.
Well, Pete, your grit and hustle have established you as one of the all-time greats of the game.
Well, thank you very much.
A keen batting eye also has something to do with it.
Well,
someday your new record may be broken, but believe me, your reputation and legacy is secure, and I think it'll be a long time before someone is standing in the spot that you're standing in now.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Well, I wish you, the Reds, and the people of Cincinnati all the best. It's been a pleasure talking with you. Indeed, we ought to do this more often. You know, those of us who are in the middle of our careers can share tips on how to stay ahead of those younger folks who keep coming up on us from behind.
Well, if you'd have been here tonight, you'd know why we think this is the baseball capital of the world right here in Cincinnati, Ohio.
Well, there is only one possible subject for Jerry to do his commentary on tonight. Pete Rose, right, Jerry?
Thanks, Norma. I was watching along with what seemed like the rest of humanity, the greatest hit of all time, cheering madly like everyone else, and then suddenly he cried. Standing there alone at first base on top of the world by way of his 4,192nd hit, Pete Rose cried and hugged his kid, and suddenly it all made sense. The mass hysteria and pandemonium that has surrounded this quest of Cobb had nothing to do with baseball after all. It was simply life, the victory of the human spirit. It's tempting at moments such as this to overstate the case. This is not the greatest thing that ever happened. It will not affect history. There are people who face far more serious struggles every day and must look at this as nothing more than a great athletic achievement. But when I saw macho tough Pete Rose standing there alone in the midst of 5 uninterrupted minutes of adulation suddenly reduced to tears, it came to me. We were bearing witness to a circumstance of which there are no parallels, at least none that I can think of. We were watching an ordinary human being, after a lifetime of uncompromising dedication, finally achieve the ultimate height of his calling. And he did it with all the world watching and all the world there to say, well done. The record will last forever, as will our remembrance of the moment. Look, we will never do what he did. No one ever has. And we all suddenly realized that, which is why we cheered, why he cried, and for one brief shining moment, why we all felt the glory of when the human spirit prevails.
Tonight, it seemed that the whole world was watching when Pete got that hit. But of course, not everyone is able to stop and watch. News 5's Toria Hamill found some in the middle of their routine when history was made.
Here at Riverfront, 50,000 people screamed as loud as they could and fireworks exploded with a bang. But outside of the stadium, it was quite a different story.
Now, this is Coleraine Avenue. About this time, the mall is closing and stores are shutting down for the night and people are heading home. It's bumper-to-bumper traffic on most nights, but tonight you could just about hear a pin drop. A large pin, that is.
With most would-be customers at the game or glued to sets at home, the employees at Sight and Sound were able to catch the historic hit on 40 screens in living color. Not bad if you had to work through the game. But it wasn't enough for Don Bauer.
I recorded the game, and it's being recorded tonight so I can watch it later.
Even though you know the outcome?
Well, I still want to see it again. As a matter of fact, I'm going to save it forever.
Customers were non-existent down the street at Taco Bell, but their 2 employees had to keep the doors open. They didn't have a TV, but thanks to a friend, they were able to take part in the big moment.
Always listen on the telephone, and we had a friend that, called us up, and whenever Pete got on
TV and got up the bat, they'd hold it up to the TV so we could hear it. It was all right.
Well, it was exciting listening to it over the phone, but I would have rather been there in person. Just knowing that he got it was exciting.
Ann Berger of Hyde Park had planned on watching tonight's game, but she didn't count on doing it in a hospital emergency room. Her husband needed some quick x-rays, so she saw the big hit here.
When I heard the hit, I kind of screamed. I was excited, but the rest of the hospital stayed pretty quiet, so I felt kind of bad that I had said, yeah, good, Pete got a hit. You right?
She had planned on celebrating downtown after the game. Instead, she told me they would probably just go home. Toria Tolly-Hamill, News 5 Tonight.
Well, that's it for September 11th, 1985, a moment we will long remember. Thanks for watching.
We'll join the Tonight Show in progress. Have a good evening.
Good night.